from ServiceNow. I'm gonna double click today on the roles and permission in our product RPA Hub. I was asked multiple times the question by some customers on how flexible the security model can be for larger organizations that may have multiple teams that's going to be working on different RPA projects. They want to make sure they can segregate the data and make sure a specific team cannot modify things that another RPA team is doing, such modifying the bot process configuration or the packages and things like that, so a team doesn't break what the other team is doing, in a nutshell. This is kind of representing the default roles and permission at a very high level. The documentation, a link to the documentation will be listed in this video. But the most important users basically will be the release manager. You can see here, which is going to have access to the RPA Hub UI, the administrative interface in ServiceNow. That release manager can create a new bot process or even configure, modify the bot process. In ServiceNow, the bot process is where you assign the robot to a process, create credentials, put some global parameters, configure the trigger, the schedule, the robot calendar, and things like that. So it's pretty good privilege for the person who's going to have this. Then you have the developer. By default, the developer can only build packages, an RPA package. So he's going to have access to RPA Design Studio, and the developer can open RPA Design Studio, create a new package, and push it to the ServiceNow instance, create new version of that package. But he cannot really break what's in production. What's in production is defined by the release manager. It's tied to a bot process, and only the person with a release manager role can put in maintenance the bot process and assign a new automation package to that process. So the developer will never be able, if he only has an RPA developer role, he cannot break what's in production or break what another team is doing. All right? That's by default. However, the developer could create a new version of a package that someone else has been working on. And this you can modify the roles and permissions in ServiceNow to define the security model you want. So I'm not going to go into the rest of the role because I just want to show you how flexible it is, and then you will get it and understand that you can fine-tune the groups, roles, and permission to go with any organizational constraint or security model or definition you have in your organization. The role in ServiceNow for RPA, I'm listing them here in the video. That's this one here that starts with SN_RPA, and there is a definition of each of them in the documentation. So for this demonstration, I'm going to take an example where I have two teams. Both teams will need to be able to create bot process, some configuration in RPA Hub, but they should not see what the other team is doing or working on at all. Like, we want to completely segregate. So if we only have one role release manager, he's going to have access to everything, but we want to segregate. So for that reason, I've created a new role that you can see here. So I'm going to use two demo users. I'm going to use Beth. I don't know how you pronounce in English, but Beth will be part of the HR group, RPA team. And we're going to have Able Tutor, who's going to be part of the finance. And I created specific role, so only people in the finance group can see the bot process that are related to finance. And only the people in this group can see the bot process related to finance, to HR, even though they are a release manager, right? So these all are the default role, but I've added a new permission, ACL, and groups to support that particular use case. So if I go in users, you'll see my two user group. I have Able Tutor and Beth Anglin. Or Angelin. I don't know if it's in French. I'll say Beth Anglin. So here we have Able Tutor. I'm gonna open Able Tutor and see he has not a lot of ServiceNow group tied to him, But I created this RPA developer group. Able is part of the automation team for the finance department. If I open this, you'll see that he has a release manager role, so he can do a lot of things in RPA Hub. He can create bot process, define a lot of configuration. He has also the developer role. But because it's tied to the finance, he'll be able to see the bot for finance. But he should not be able to see the bot process for HR. And if I go to, if I go back, we can see for, let's see if I can go back to it. I wanted to show you for our friend Beth here. Beth, she's part of HR. She even has a picture here. So she's got that group, RPA HR department. She also got the developer role, business user role for RPA release manager, but also she is part of that specific custom group that I created, custom role. We'll start with the next, telling you that it's not the default role. So now let's see. Let me open the RPA console so we can get more clarity on what I'm trying to show you. RPA, if I tap RPA, I'll get the console, RPA bot process. Pardon me. So at the end of the day, if you're very familiar with ServiceNow platform, you understand the security model of ServiceNow. If your organization is already using ServiceNow, you have a ServiceNow architect that know very well. So they could define the security model that you want. It's so flexible. It doesn't really, doesn't really matter. What you want to hide, what permission, they will be able to set the data model that you need. Well, I'm sharing this video for people who come from more UiPath or Automation Anywhere or Blue Prism experience. They don't necessarily have the good platform knowledge, ServiceNow platform knowledge, so they don't understand the flexibility of our security model. Here I'm logged in with Quentin, which is God. It's a God user. It's my admin user on my instance. You can see with the red banner. I even have security admin role. And this is just to show that I see finance bot process and an HR bot process because I'm God. You always have to have root access at some point. So I can modify everything in RPA. And this role should obviously not be given to a lot of people. You eventually want to have 1 or 2 users with those privileges. Some, depending on how you want to categorize, I may have access to finance plus other type of bot, but maybe you don't want the finance team to see the HR bot, right? Here I see both because I'm using this user. As I'm impersonating, I just want to show you the segregation. If I'm logging in with Beth, which is part of HR, I should see a lot of bots, but I won't be able to see the finance bot that I was seeing here. So now I'm impersonating as Beth, and I'm gonna open RPA. And in RPA, I'm just gonna go in bot process. So now I see a bunch of robots. Obviously, I can see the HR one because I'm part of the HR department, but I don't see the finance one. You see it's hidden. Security constraint. This is, for someone who knows ServiceNow, this is a native permission role in ACL in ServiceNow, nothing specific to RPA, right? So when you use our RPA, you get the flexibility of our data model, security model that's probably already approved for your organization. So now I can impersonate as another user. I'm going to impersonate as able tutor, and you'll see that I don't see the HR bot process, but I'll see the finance process. All right, I'm going to open the RPA workspace from using Able. I'm going to go in the bot process. And you can see, I see finance, but I don't see HR because Able is part of the finance RPA team. So I can maybe show the ACL. I'm going to just show you the view that where I went to configure those additional ACL and permission to through. That is pretty straightforward. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna maybe close some window. Too much things open in there. All right. So I'm logged in with QC, Quentin, which has a lot of... to modify those permission and security, this ACL, you need to have the role security admin, which is a kind of an enterprise active directory type of role, admin role that you have in Active Directory, but for ServiceNow, it's a pretty big deal. So only 1 or 2 people in your organization will have this privilege to modify ACL. So if you search for security, I think it's access control list ACL. So you see that I put some deny rule here on the bot process table. So obviously this is an example. You can do things more complex, but here I'm denying record unless I'm only showing the finance bot process for the people that have the role finance. That is a very simple rule. So it's an access control that I've created. Then you can do, verify if the role is tied to a group here. So I created the role. Here we have this access control verify that we have the role. And because my user in that example label is part of the finance group on which I configure that role, then he can access to the finance. So you can put deny or access all rules. So it's basically ACL type of rule. And you can do advanced and even put the scripting if you want to do advanced logic for your condition and so on and so on. So there is a lot more that can be said about security on the ServiceNow platform. I'm not a security expert, but I just wanted to show you that at least from an RPA perspective, you got all the granularity that your organization may need. I hope that's useful.